Hello and welcome to another episode of Blue Alpine TV. Today's format is going to be a little different. We will look at two different companies and look at their teams and what the project is doing and show you a little bit of how we're going to do research. But first, let's start with the general market. So as you can see here, another red day here. It seems like we will go down a bit further this week. Our assumption is that the Bitcoin futures, who will clear, I think, on the 26th of January, will push the price down of Bitcoin a little bit more. We might even go past the 9,500 that we've had last week. So there is a good chance that this market will stay in the red for the next couple of days. However, if we look at the winners of today, we have two interesting companies that we wanted to look at here at Blue Alpine for a while. So one of them is Cindicator and the other is VeChain. And I would like to start with VeChain. And before we do any kind of research, as you might have heard from the previous episodes, we generally look at the website, go through a white paper, and then depending on the white paper and the depth of the white paper, we'll dive deeper into topics like the team, the products, the roadmap, and other topics. In the case of VeChain, so we see that there is a total supply and a circulating supply, which is about 1/3 of the entire supply. So it is a limited coin. And with that, that means that the price potentially should increase when the supply gets higher as well, because it's rarer to get a coin. VeChain in the last, I want to say 3 months, has made quite some jumps. They have gone from a couple of cents up to at the height, I think around $8, $9, something like this. Obviously, with the drop, it hasn't risen as much, but it seems like the market is really in favor of VeChain. So what is VeChain exactly doing? So when we click on the website, we see here, we have an English website. So normally when you click on the link, what you get is the Chinese website, but when you click here on the right side, you get the English version. So right away, we're greeted with a video that already kind of explains what VeChain is doing, but we don't want to watch the entire video, so we scroll a bit more down. VeChain is the world's leading blockchain platform for products and information. It's not saying a lot, but we'll dive a bit deeper here. By leveraging on blockchain technology, VeChain strives to build a trust-free and distributed business ecosystem, which is self-circulating and scalable. What kind of products do they have? API gateway service, third-party services, and distributed data storage. So again, not really clear on exactly what they're doing. One of the earliest blockchain technology companies in the world, top-notch, experienced core management team. We'll dive into this. A team of 50 and more developers. We have successfully implemented blockchain solutions across industries such as luxury goods, liquor, agriculture. These use cases go beyond the proof of concept and have already been launched on the market globally. That's cool. So this is definitely something we would look deeper into. So has there been a proof of concept? Can we use this? Can we see this somewhere? Our offices are set up across the world in France, Singapore, and Hong Kong, managed by partners capable of delivering blockchain solutions globally. So definitely interesting that they have these 3 hubs. So Singapore probably for the foundation, Hong Kong because I think the founders are from there, and France, that one is interesting. So there is a closeness to the European market that I would like to dig deeper into. So when we look at the solutions, we see here already luxury goods, agriculture, logistics, government, food, and drugs. In order to explain you a bit what VeChain does, so VeChain is using NFC and RFID technology to check the legitimacy of the legitness of certain goods. So you can see whether the goods, for example, luxury goods, have been tampered with or are fake goods in any kind of way, and they're using NFC chips for this. In the area of food and drugs, you can, for example, see whether the milk or any kind of canned product has been opened and has been changed in terms of temperature or pressure or whatever is needed. And the reason why this is a really important topic, especially in China, is in 2008, there was the Chinese milk scandal, where around, I think, 300,000 victims in China have been reported. 6 babies actually died from kidney stones and other kidney damage, and an estimated 54,000 babies were hospitalized. So fake food or tampered with food is definitely a big issue in China. So a lot of RFID, NFC, IoT companies, especially on the blockchain, are using the blockchain in order to make sure that the products that are being traded are actually accurate, not tampered with, etc. So these are definitely 2 areas I would look a bit deeper into. What I don't like at first sight is that they are trying to tackle a bunch of industries at first. I get that they need to convince investors, which in our case are we and you and all the people who believe in the coin or are buying the coin. They are trying to bite a lot of different industries, which are by themselves already very difficult to do. So luxury goods doesn't really have to do a lot with logistics, doesn't really have to do a lot with government. So these are a lot of different big industries. Now, VeChain nodes. VeChain has deployed 111 nodes across the world. Not really clear. Here, yeah, well, you see it's England, Germany, China, Korea, and Japan. For example, not in Singapore. That's interesting. So this is also something we would dig deeper in, like why these countries, why not France, for example, stuff like this. And here we also see, yeah, like I thought, so it's in Singapore founded, so that the company is there. And one of the first things I do when we look at companies is basically to understand what is the company, like who stands behind the company, what kind of company is it, etc. So about us, offering a blockchain as a service to enterprises. This is interesting. So it's not targeting the end consumer, but more the producer of these products and services. So this is definitely an industry that has money to spend on solutions like this. For example, a luxury good producer definitely will need some kind of proof that the products they trade with are not being tampered with and are legit and all of these things. Then we see the establishment of VeChain Foundation, all of these things, governance principles. A lot of words, not really clear who works on what, all of these things. So this is something that from the beginning on we don't like. We like more transparency aspect. We need to know who is behind it. However, if you look at the VeChain Foundation, if I open this link, basically you come here. And here you find out a bit more about the actual foundation behind it. So they are founded in Singapore. And here again, a lot of buzzwords, but not really explaining what exactly it's doing. So the industrial application, we see all of those things that we saw before, the API gateway, the distributed database, cooperation service, all of these things. So we see all these different industries, but we're not really sure where VeChain comes into play and how exactly it will work. So right from the start, we see an allocation plan. We see 9% goes to private investors, 41% to the VeChain crowd sale, 23% enterprise investors, 12% continues operation and technological development. Co-founders only get 5%. This is interesting. Normally, a lot of blockchain technology-based companies reserve a lot in percentage of the tokens to themselves. This is always a bit suspect because it could be that they want to raise money fast and then not deliver the product and say, well, sorry, didn't work out. Here in this case, this actually is in my opinion a bit more trustworthy. If they have less, then we also see the 10% in business implementations. They have kind of a roadmap here. It's a bit something definitely we would look into a bit more. So what exactly do these things mean? Have they shipped all of these things that was planned for 2017, for example? Is there something more behind? Was there a failed launch? Something that is interesting to know. Now, one of the core things we look at is the team. So we believe that when you invest in a technology or in a company, one of the first and most important things you can do is actually invest in people and not the idea. A lot of ideas change as soon as they hit the market. So for example, I'm just making an example here. In the case of VeChain, it could be that agriculture is not the actual industry that needs VeChain's technology. It will be more luxury goods. So they could technically change the idea in a way that they are purely focused on luxury goods. But in order to do that, they will need a strong team that can actually deliver on the promises and the products they have promised. So right away we see here a couple of people. Biggest image, Sonny Liu is the project leader. So I'm assuming this guy is kind of the co-founder and the CEO, or just the CEO or the co-founder. And the other people here, generally what is really important for us in this early stage is the technology knowledge in the company. So yes, PR, marketing and finance is absolutely important, as well as business directors and stuff like this. But for us, what is really important is, do they have the team to back in terms of technology? So are they experienced when it comes to blockchain technology and stuff like this? Then we see here the enterprise backers and some individual backers as well. Not really relevant at this stage because we really want to look at the team. So when we looked at Sonny Liu's profile, one of the first few things that came up was the LinkedIn profile. So in the Western hemisphere and the Western part of the world, it is actually quite common to have a LinkedIn profile. In Asia and especially in China, it is not that common. So don't be scared away if people don't actually have a LinkedIn profile, like we will see with another person. But in this case, Sonny Liu, he's the CEO at VeChain, so definitely he has to communicate a little bit more to the Western world as well. So definitely he already has a LinkedIn profile. And here what is interesting is I always check what this has this person done before, where did he work at, what kind of companies. And already what we see here, really interesting, Louis Vuitton China. He was the CTO of Louis Vuitton China. As you know, Louis Vuitton, quite a luxury goods company. And he was in charge of technical area of IS&T team. And ONP, organization and projects, manage all of IS&T projects with business partners. So he has worked at Louis Vuitton in China, and then he became a CIO, which I assume is the Chief Information Officer in China as well. So he has worked over 5.5 years at Louis Vuitton in IT. He was in charge of whole IS&T operation for Louis Vuitton China. So he definitely knows the luxury goods market, and he probably also has quite a strong network in that area as well. So this could give obviously VeChain some interesting synergy possibilities. He has then gone on to co-found and CEO lead VeChain, which was called BitC before that. And now he is the CEO of VeChain for the last 6 months. However, he's been working more or less for 2.5 years on VeChain as a project. So this, for example, is really interesting in terms of, so we look at the management team. Does the management team have the experience? Have they had any successes in the past? Have they sold any companies in the past? All of these things are definitely interesting. In this case, I think Sonny Liu has really a good profile, considering that he's worked in the luxury goods area, and considering also that VeChain is actually looking into going into the luxury goods segment as well. Now, if we look at the rest of the, especially the technical team, we have here Bin Qian. He's a blockchain development director. And when we Google him, there is very little information, up to basically not any information available here. Here's a Reddit post, but again, in the post itself, it says, who is this guy? We don't really know him. So it's a bit of a mystery. On LinkedIn, you can't find him either, but that's mainly because I told you LinkedIn in general is not that common in China. So we also looked into Baidu, the Chinese Google, Chinese search engine, but weren't able to find anything. Now, the next person would be Qianliang Gu, and he is the technical director. So also quite a key position in the company. Now, when we Googled a bit here, what we found is an article from what seems like a blog, and it looks like here we found something. Before joining in VeChain, Mr. Gu Jianliang was employed as the technical director of TCL Mobile Communications and had accumulated almost 18 years of experience in relevant industries like mobile telecommunication and IoT. Apart from his rich experience in relevant industries, Mr. Gu Jianliang also holds more than 100 relevant patents. Now, we've said VeChain is in the IoT space active. So that means RFID chips, NFC chips, all of these things. So if this is true and he actually holds those patents and has the knowledge, this also might be a good person for the technical team, because it looks like he has a lot of experience. Now, when we digged a bit deeper, we found that Jianliang Gu actually has a couple of patents. We weren't able to find 100, but that would be unrealistic anyway. But here we found some. Now, not all of them are really interesting. We were able to find some of them with NFC function. So a mobile terminal using a common antenna to perform an NFC function, and an FM transaction function is provided. So this is radio based with a mobile device connected with NFC. So definitely something that VeChain wants to do. And if we continue to look here as well, I think there have been some other NFC and some stolen communication terminal. So definitely the patents are true. So filed in 2011, the patent is from 2013, and it was filed on the TCL Mobile Communication. So that is definitely the right guy. So we found at least one person, and he looks like a fairly feasible guy. Feasible in terms of skills. Now, what would be interesting now is if VeChain, for example, would be open source, we will look at the code. So is there any developer activity? Is there any project that is being shipped in any way, or is there something we can look at? So here we have again the luxury goods case. One thing else was so liquor. So obviously, yeah, you have all these different use cases. They're explaining them a bit, so it does look interesting. And here is another interesting one. So in the logistics area, they have Kühne and Nagel, which is a huge logistics company here I think in Germany, in Europe definitely. So this is another area where we would dig a bit deeper and really look into, is this a real partnership? How has Kühne and Nagel actually implemented VeChain? Is it just something they want to do in the future? And does it match with their roadmap? So these are really things we look at when we dive deeper at Blue Alpine and really do in-depth research about companies. Now, another company that has made a lot of good gains today is Cindicator. So up 32% almost. And here we see the website. It's in English, and I think that's Russian. So collective intelligence platform. Contribute to next-gen predictive analytics, share your market vision, and reap the rewards. Start forecasting. So you generate forecast, we generate alpha. Not really clear what alpha here means. Answer questions every day. Make forecasts on a variety of financial instruments. Your predictions will include price levels of popular assets such as cryptocurrency, stocks, future, and forex. You will also be invited to make predictions. And depending on the predictions, you will probably make money with those predictions. This immediately reminded me of this book, Super Forecasting. In the book, it says that as a collective, if we have certain opinions on things, we tend to be to go towards the right decision if we decide as a collective. Obviously, this doesn't apply to every case, so I definitely suggest you read the book. But in the book, they discuss different cases, and what I'm thinking that Cindicator is doing is basically using the collective in order to build an opinion, and based on that opinion, do trades or forecasts. I think their robots are trading, and you are making money depending on the forecast of the group or of the individual. So this is a really interesting model. I'm not sure yet on how exactly it would work. So in this case, for example, when we do research about Cindicator, what we would do is download the app or open the web application and really play around with it, maybe do some forecasts and all of these things. And depending on that, really look into how it works, whether it works, and all of these things. If we look at the team, again, one of the first things we look at when we do research, here in the team, you can see it's a combination of mathematicians, a product team, traders and analysts, and data scientists. If we look at the images here, the people here look fairly young. So a very young team, which isn't necessarily something bad, but we always look for experience, past experience. So, for example, the CTO, what kind of products has he worked on? The CTO is really important. So if we look at the CTO's profile, for example, on LinkedIn, again, he does have a LinkedIn profile. We can see here that he studied at St. Petersburg State University, which is a well-known and respected university, and studied in computer study. And he also studied mathematics at high school level. And from then on, we see lead iOS developer, executive producer, individual entrepreneur. Looks like more smaller projects here. CEO and founder of O Mobile for almost 3 years. And from sales to production. So this looks like very much like a development company that has developed products for other companies. Then we have here Octabrain, strategic development of startup production services studio, new markets explorations, organized work of a team for startups in NYC. All of these things, again, looks like an agency. But here he started being the CTO of Vote Inc., which is Cindicator's company in the back. Is a new type of hybrid intelligence, a symbiosis of collective intelligence and machine learning. So he has been working there for almost 2 years, fairly young again. And another aspect that is really important, for example, is the analytics part. So how do they make sense of the data that they have? So we looked at Kate from Cindicator here, and we look at, so she has been a trader before. She has worked as an advisor. Just recently started as an advisor, but she worked for almost 3 years as a stock and currency trader. So she definitely has some experience in that area. But she joined then as a head of analytics about 1.5-2 years ago, for this amount of time, and currently heads the analytics team there. So this is also interesting. Looks like an interesting profile. This is definitely something we would dig a bit deeper. The next step, what we look at generally, is also the advisors and partners. The advisory board looks really strong. So we definitely see here some big names such as Charlie Shrem, who was one of the first few people when it came to Bitcoin, be it exchanges and buying and selling. All of these people here. And I mean, the other people we would have to research a bit more even. But yeah, Singularity University, which is also a known place, and a venture partner at a capital company, and all of these things. So it definitely looks like the advisory team is quite strong. So this is another plus point for the company. But we would like to dig deeper here into the team and really understand where they are coming from. Is the CEO knowledgeable enough to lead this company in the turbulent times of cryptocurrency and all of these things? But already, yeah, the website looks a bit more something you can see and feel compared to the VeChain type. But this could also be because the company was founded with a different idea maybe, and then rotated into blockchain. So they definitely, it looks like they have been around the block for a while and do the whole website and selling the vision part really, really well. So yeah, the next step would be to really try the product, see whether it works. Are they on point with the roadmap? Is there anything else that they would need to do, and all of these things? But definitely looks like an interesting company that we would like to dig deeper on. And yeah, with that, we would like to finish today's episode. Let me know in the comments whether you like this type of format, whether you want me to dig deeper in terms of research into the different companies and teams. And yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.